What is going on, Rockets fans? I am Randy, and we are here for week number 2 of the GBA Season 9. This is going to be our team builder for the Kansas City Jirachiefs, coached by TTM JOLT. Now, if you guys did not catch any of last week's action, be sure to check out the builder and or battle from last week when we faced Old Man Tup, so you're caught up to date and you know what's going on. So, I'm going to spoil the result here in a few seconds, so if you haven't watched it, be sure to go back. But your Rockets did end up actually picking up a pretty strong victory, 4-0. And obviously we're here to hopefully have a good start. As I mentioned earlier in the draft analysis video, our schedule is pretty top heavy in terms of early threats. Like, we have Jolt this week, we have Danza next week, Goldoa the following week, and then we have Cybertron and Tom after that. So it's gonna get a little bit easier because I think I just have that much respect for Jolt and Danza. Of course, we have Aster later on in the season, but that's later in the season. So right now, I'm just trying to start as strong as I can, because the stronger start means I can probably slow down towards the end to get a playoff spot. But obviously, the goal is to bring out whatever strats we can. I'm not even thinking about potential rematches in playoffs. I'm just trying to get wins to get myself into the tournament. So with that being said, let's go ahead and just jump straight into the builder here. Joel ended up picking up a pretty good win last week against Goldoa. A little bit of hacks there, but I mean, like, watching it, I don't really think it mattered too much. Jolt had a pretty damn good build. I'm actually more than surprised of how well Goldoa played. Like, his builds were actually pretty solid. He probably didn't play it as well as he would have liked, but his builds were pretty solid. So, and his team's kind of weird too. Like, in comparison to Jolt's, like, I mean, Goldoa is awesome. Don't get me wrong, but like, Jolt's team is stupid. Like, look at his team, man. Like, keep this in mind. His team's different. This is the first week he's using it, guys. He dropped his Zekrom and his Crocodile for Goodra and Groudon. Groudon is, like, so freaking good against my team. Offensively, it is. I don't see him being offensive. Like, it could be, don't get me wrong, because I cannot predict any sort of set he's going to bring on any of his mons. I can somewhat predict if he brings them, but it's just so hard to tell. Like, Magearna, Mew, Mega Aerodactyl, Scolipede, Manaphy, Goodra, Incineroar, Alolan Ninetales, Breloom, Mismagius, and Groudon. People might not like the Groudon switch because he doesn't have an electric type anymore. And HP Fire kind of makes Magearna a bit more exploitable with that Sun. However, against me, I could see Groudon tearing a new hole, so I had to prep a little hard for that, just to be careful. But, I mean, guys, this is so dumb to prep for. Like, he has Setup City. He's got a Magearna. He's got a Mew, a Mega Arrow, a Scolipede, a Manaphy, like, a Breloom, a Mismagius, and a Groudon. Like, I know Incineroar, I guess, technically could set up, so could Goodra. But literally every single Pokemon he has can set up. They all have a setup move. That's actually not bad. Swords Dance, Nasty Plot, Calm Mind, Shift Gear, Rock Polish. Like, it's just so dumb. And did I mention that he's got an Alolan Ninetales? That he can just get Veil up and start setting up if he wants to? This man literally could bring a Ninetales, throw up Veil, and just start setting up crap. Like, it's just so annoying to prep for. The only good thing to this is that I kind of know how Jolt builds. Like, he's not going to be crazy like that and just bring all-out offense. He's going to bring some bulk because I have threats of my own. I think the equalizer here for me would be Yveltal as well as Infernape. Like, those two alone give me a shot. So that's kind of the mindset going into this game. Some of my builds are a little crazy because I have to rely on it because of how unorthodox his team can be or how crazy unpredictable it could be. So I am bringing a weird set, and you will see that later on. But for the most part, like, this prepping for this was a pain. But however, I think my build is pretty solid. I'm kind of expecting some sets not to come. That's why my builds are a little bit risky. And we're going to go ahead and build it that way. So, leading the way, we have Hakeem, the Yveltal. Oh, by the way, before I get started, make sure you guys subscribe and drop a like. We are definitely growing steadily now thanks to all of your support from the GBA. So, if we can get to 1K before the season's over, that'd be insane. Even though it's really unlikely because there's not that many, GBA fans. But anyways, I thank you all for the support so much. It's been great. The opening week was awesome. So hopefully you guys do continue watching the videos and liking the videos. I'll definitely try to keep up with all the nice builders and the nice layout edits on my live battles. So with that out of the way, let's go ahead and jump into the builder with Hakeem leading the way once again, running pretty much the same set from last week, except we're running knockoff over the taunt and we're running heat wave over the sucker punch with life orb. Now, I know this is probably stupid predictable. Once he sees the orb, he's going to be like, okay, we know what he is. He can't be faster. He might be like a Scarf Mew, or maybe even like an offensive Mew. Like an offensive Mew with like Z Thunder, or Z Thunderbolt, or Z Ice Beam or something. That's just an easy way to kill this thing because I don't have Sucker Punch. So he could do that, but like I said, I know Jolt. He's not going to bring that. Like, he's not going to bring an offensive Mew like that. He very well could, because honestly that's probably his best way to check Evoltol, because he probably doesn't expect me to run Sucker Punch, to be fair. Or I don't know, like it's kind of hard to predict, man. Like I would think he has to have a Fizz-Def Mew or a Fizz-Def Manaphy to check my Infernape. So that's kind of the thing that I had to expect. So I think this set's fine. Like on Breloom, on Miss Magius, on even Groudon, on even Scolipede, Incineroar, like he can't switch into this thing, man. Like Magearna is his #1 switch in, I would think, or an Assault Vest Incineroar, but Assault Vest Incineroar is only a switch in for like 1 turn, and then obviously there's potential for me to have Rock Slide, even though he's got Intimidate. Like Incineroar with a Berry or an Assault Vest is probably a soft check to me, at least for a little bit early on in the game. But I mean, Magearna, I expect that to be his main answer, whether it be Calm Mind, Pain Split, or Assault Vest. Those are the 2 sets that I expect the most. I don't see Shift Gear coming at all, because Scarf Infernape outruns that at +2 with 1 boost. I just don't see Trick Room coming either, because Hippowdon can take advantage of that and be slower and just revenge it with Earthquake, depending on how I let it set up, if I injured it or not or something. So those are the 2 sets I expect the most from Magearna. Like I don't expect any other set. Calm Mind, Shift Gear, or Calm Mind, Pain Split, or Assault Vest. Those are the 2 I expect. More so Calm Mind, Pain Split. So yeah, I mean, this set's pretty standard. I mean, the speed here is for Jolly Breloom, I believe. Yeah, Jolly Breloom. I was kind of tempted to run like max speed just to take advantage of him. Perhaps me trying to, you know, creep something. So like take advantage. Like let's say Mew doesn't run like max speed because he knows I'm probably gonna creep. I don't know, like maybe Breloom. But I think he knows how I build. I don't really save EVs. I don't try to creep stuff that creep other things, so he might just run max speed just to play me safe. So I could very well see that happening. But that's Yveltal, again, pretty standard. Just try to click buttons. Hopefully it actually hits the field this time and does stuff. So next up we have our Infernape, James Harden, running a choice Scarf set, Flare Blitz, Close Combat, U-Turn, and the last move I will probably decide before I go into battle what I want to run. Encore is like, I mean, the last move slot really doesn't matter. Someone suggested I run Grass Knot for the Groudon, but Flare Blitz does more in the sun. However, I take no recoil with Grass Knot, and Grass Knot's a bit more reliable as a last second kill, because it does 2-8 KO max HP Groudon, you know, especially after a hazard sack, or some hazards, or a little bit of chip damage. So I'll decide before I go into the game which one I decide to run. If I decide to run Encore, I'll throw those 36 EVs back into, I guess what, maybe defense, and then make it Timid Nature. I mean, not Timid Nature, Jolly Nature. So I don't know. Well, I'll let you guys know before we go, and you'll obviously see it. But I mean, again, this is just to be my check to Magearna, a Shift Gear Magearna. I will always outrun a +2 Timid max speed Magearna, even though he probably would save speed EVs, I would think, if he were to run Shift Gear. But again, I'm not risking that. I'm just going to play it safe and run my max speed or near max speed. So I'll always have that answer for that. Also, it just outspeeds Aerodactyl. I can kill it with Close Combat after a Stealth Rocks, or a little bit of chip damage and Stealth Rock. It doesn't necessarily die there. It's a late game cleaner for sure. Like, he doesn't have the best answers to this. Like I said, he would have to bring a Fizz-Def Manaphy or a Fizz-Def Mew to check this thing. So, and with Manaphy not having recovery besides rest, like, this is pretty solid bring against them, and I think it's gonna hopefully do some work against them. And like I said, Yveltal and Infernape are my equalizers to give me a shot against what seems to be like a huge setup team. Only downside is that Scolipede can easily come in, go for Protect, and take advantage of my Choice Scarf and just, you know, start hammering away at my team with its coverage moves. That's the only downside. Next up, we have our Suicune, running our Suicune here, running a Sub-Toxic Roar and Scald set. Now, this set's a little weird, and and let me tell you that, I almost went with HP Flying on Substitute. Don't be surprised if I actually end up doing that before I go into the game. But we just talked about it a lot, and we felt Sub was far better than HP flying, because for one thing, he might not even bring Breloom. That's one thing, the main thing. But two, HP flying wasn't reliable, because like if he brings a Breloom, I expect it to be really fat, like fat enough to where it can just like, you know, take a Scald into an HP flying. I think he would run something like that. But I would think Breloom for sure, if it does come, it's gonna have Bullet, no doubt, to break through sub Suicune. Because if he runs like Seed Bomb, I can just sub and, you know, be safe from that. So Bullet Seed would always come. You know, I'm not too fearful of like a Spore or SD, because he doesn't have enough moves to hit my team. I have a Scarf Infernape. I have an Yveltal. I have what is it? I have what's the other one? I have a Rose Raid. You'll see later on. Like, I don't think it's gonna be that big of a deal if I leave Suicune prone to Breloom. Now a sub like Toxic Orb set or Poison Orb, whatever, the Poison Heal set, that could probably be annoying to me. But like I said, a sub Poison Heal set probably can't touch Rose Raid anyway. So I felt that set was fine. Obviously Roar is imperative because he's got set up on literally his entire roster. And then Toxic just to wear down Goodra, wear down Manaphy, wear down Mew is very important for Infernape late game, or maybe even Yveltal to wear him down just a bit, so I don't have to, you know, bring it in early and risk killing it. By the way, music in the background. Shout out to Root. Root got me into Duel Links, so I'm just playing this this theme in the background. So yeah, I'll probably replay it here in a second because it's about to run out of time. So yeah, shout out to Root. Anyways, yeah, this set's pretty good. Outspeed an Adamant Breloom, max speed Adamant Breloom, and then as much defense as I possibly can for Groudon and the Incineroar, and, you know, potentially, you know, the Aerodactyl as well. So yeah, pretty standard there. Just want to wear down stuff, you know, and then, you know, spread out some Skull damage. It's pretty solid against them. Like, I could very well see myself leading this because it does pretty well against his entire roster. Next up, we have our Rose Raid, which is coming once again. Leaf Storm, HP Fire, Spike, Stun Spore with Yache Berry. Yache Berry allows me to somewhat check that Magearna and dish out some good damage with HP Fire. If not, Stun Spore it to, you know, just hazard it. I mean, not hazard it, status it, and be quite annoying. Stun Spore on his team is actually pretty damn good. Now, I almost brought P2 with Thunder Wave just to spread status and hit stuff with Bolt Beam, but I think Rose Raid has a bit of more of an upside because of its offense, as well as its typing, as well as its, you know, ability to throw up hazards. Jolt isn't the type of person to bring hazards control a lot, at least from the times I faced him. So throwing up spikes would be very nice, because with the likes of Mew, Magearna, Scolipede, Manaphy, Goodra, Groudon, like, spikes are just so clean against them. And I don't think he has room for Defog on his team. And if he were to bring like Spike Scolipede and then try to stack with me too, then I'm willing to play that game, because, like, I don't know, I'm just willing to play it because Yveltal is like my main threat, and being in the sky, I'm only hurting my rocks. So I mean, I'll play that game if I have to, because I feel like he'll be, because I have you'll see later on that I'm bringing something to help me with hazards, to hopefully bring in his mons and start dealing more damage and just chipping away at his team, because ultimately my end game is to go for Infernape sweep, or another sweep that you'll see that I potentially could bring later on. So next up is the debut of Mori the Hippowdon, the mascot Hippowdon, man. This is actually a pretty clean set here, even though it's like super standard. This is like OU standard. But yeah, Stealth Rock, EQ, Whirlwind, Slack Off, Leftovers, Sandstream. Again, hazards, I need rocks up to wear down Aerodactyl and Scolipede, Incineroar, just to wear down his stuff, obviously. Whirlwind is to prevent him from, you know, set up shenanigans, you know. But I think it's more so important to, you know, send out his stuff after I've already gotten up a Spike or Stealth Rock to start chipping away at his team. Hopefully get some lucky Whirlwind switch-ins. And then, of course, like, my set here, this set's actually pretty damn good. Like, I actually EV'd this thing pretty well, I think. I need a swig of water. But this set here pretty much checks Magearna, like, believe it or not. Like, if I were to switch into a Flare Cannon, I can take an Ice Beam or a Flare Cannon the following turn and slack off the damage. This also allows me to not be 2-hit KO'd by his Groudon after Stealth Rock if he's max attack Adamant. Now, if he's running Life Orb, then I don't survive that, or I do get 2-hit KO'd by it, but it's whatever. I don't think he's gonna run Life Orb. What else is there? Yeah, it's pretty much there for those two. I'm running Relaxed Nature, minus speed, like no speed whatsoever. That way I can, you know, underspeed his Magearna, and I can actually, after a Spike, Earthquake will into Shuka Berry into a regular Earthquake will actually kill the Magearna, which is very nice if he's running max HP. So I can always, like, if he wants to try to get up Trick Room on Hippo, knowing that he's safe, or thinking he's safe with Shuckaberry, I can always revenge it. Not that he would do that, because he knows that I'm probably going to be very, very slow. And I have Whirlwind, so I can always do that as well. But in case, I need to hit it some damage for Infernape or something, I could always do that. But yeah, Hippowdon's actually pretty solid here in this matchup. And this is assuming he doesn't bring like a Tailglow Manaphy or like a Breloom and Magius and all that, because those things would take advantage of me. But Hippowdon's pretty solid. I need the rocks, so we're bringing that. So the last set here is our win con. No matter, this is a very, very shaky win con. Let me say that. But this is a very, very weird set I'm bringing. I'm pulling an Aster J. I'm bringing a Setup Sweeper with no stab. I'm bringing Reflect type, Calm Mind, Shadow Ball, Roost, Mega Latias. And you guys see Reflect type. You guys know what I'm going to try to do. The only way this set can work is if I were to Reflect type on his Magearna. And Reflect typing on Magearna allows me to set up in front of it if he's running Assault Vest. If it's Assault Vest, I set up in front of it no matter what, and there's nothing you can do about it. If he's Calm Mind Pain Split, that set is a little frustrating. I can't necessarily sweep it, but with Shadow Ball having the potential to drop, I think it's, and crit as well, I could potentially deal with it. But the goal is for me to, for one, I have to hope he doesn't bring Incineroar or knock it out before I try setting up, because Incineroar is a bit of a pain to deal with, especially if he runs an Assault Vest set like I expect him to. Scolipede, I could also potentially Reflect type on that thing, but I get blown back by a Z Mega Horn, so I really can't do that. However, I can take a regular Mega Horn and then Reflect type, and then he can't kill me with anything he has, including Aqua Tail. And there's no way he would run Rock Slide, because he would just run out of moves to hit my team. So this is a bit of a wacky win con, but if I'm able to Reflect type on Magearna, I can set up on anything outside of Incineroar, because I have Levitate, and with my lot of bulk here, I'm also, I can't be toxic, like I said, because I'll be Steel and Fairy, and I'm in the sky, so the only thing you can hit me with is a fire move, in which Incineroar would be packing, and the only way for it to quote-unquote revenge me would be to be Scarf. But I don't know, he's smart. He wouldn't let me get to like +3 before he switches out. Like the moment he sees Reflect type on Latias, he would probably switch out Magearna. But that's kind of my wacky win con. Like if I can't win the game legit with like Infernape and Hazard Spread and all that sort of stuff, this will be it. So look for me to try to preserve his Magearna. Like I won't try to kill it early, because I want Latias to be able to set up on it. If Latias ends up failing, because this is a high risk, high reward type stuff, man. Like it's probably better for me to run like a maybe 2 attacks, Calm Mind maybe. But like I just felt this set would be rewarding, and hopefully I can get it to work. But yeah, guys, that is the team builder. Almost 20 minutes. A bit sorry about that, but there's a lot to explain given that his team's pretty whack, and I had to explain some of my wackier builds. But that is the team. Hopefully you guys enjoy the team builder. Hippowdon making his debut. Hopefully he does some work. But ultimately the game plan is to get up some hazards, wear down his team, take advantage of him potentially not bringing hazards, and worst case scenario, we go for game with our Mega Latias with this whack set. But thank you guys for watching. I will see you guys tomorrow when we face off against Jolt in our first match since the GBA D-League Season 3 semifinals. So he'll definitely be looking for some revenge. I think it's going to be a good one, guys. Hope you guys stay tuned for that. Thank you. Go Rockets.